good afternoon, good morning, and thank you for joining us today in this interesting webinar talking about break free from legacy, reimagine work with AI and Google Workspace. It's going to be an interesting talk. We've got some amazing speakers lined up today. I would really encourage, let's keep it more interactive. If possible, switch on your camera so we can see you, we can know you better. And let's try to keep it more interactive and have this an engaging conversation because this is a topic very close to my heart too. Legacy, like I said, has haunted a lot of us at times, kept us awake at night. We really want to come out of it, and then the solution is something that we're going to talk about. So I'll let the speakers talk about it, but don't want to steal their thunder on this topic. So moving on. Like I said, the speakers are pretty interesting people today. We've got Neelesh, who is a strategic partner manager from Google Cloud, Liz, workspace specialist from Google Cloud, and we've got Grace, who is also from Google Cloud. She's a workspace CE. Myself, Kunal, I'm from Shivaami. I am the VP and I lead the North America business. And Chetana, who is our CTO at Shivaami, and she's been instrumental in helping a lot of our clients. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, speakers, for taking our time today to put together this interesting conversation. Just get started. Um, so what's holding you back? The hidden costs of legacy tech. This is a topic which I'll let Nilesh cover, and he's going to talk about a little bit deeper aspect of how this whole cost aspect and the legacy tech really consumes from a business standpoint. I hand it over to Nilesh for his slides.
All right, thank you so much, Kunal. Thank you, everyone that's joined today. Neelesh Mistry, Partner Sales Manager here at Google. Really happy to have you guys all on this call. And this is a really good segue as we think about this concept of what are some of the big major setbacks that we see within organizations today. And I'll dive a little bit into this one, and especially specifically this answer, of course, without a doubt. But if we sort of pull back the curtain, look at the slide, you'll sort of see that there's a variety of different reasons why sometimes we get these challenges, right? So let's dig into some of them. The one, of course, is around subtle latency, right? It's not a system crash. It's not a pause in the system. It's something that we all sort of experience daily, weekly, and when you start to add up the time that a user has to sort of deal with that, it's not just seconds, it's minutes. It's a lot of time when we waste in a day waiting for web pages to load, for applications to load, to save a file. And really, in the eyes of a user, all of it feels very negligible, right? So how many actions like this do we perform in a day, in a week, a year? When you multiply all of that time for every employee, it actually adds up a lot. And so this becomes what we call a massive drag in the system. And so companies are faced with this challenge, and it's costing a lot of untold hours for a productivity user, for the organization, when we think about trying to be more productive and get tasks done. So it is a big point for us, for sure. The second point, of course, is around collaboration checkpoints, choke points, right? Like these are digital bottlenecks that happen in teamwork and collaboration with external vendors. You know, we obviously know that the world is small now. We're always working and collaborating with a lot of organizations out there. And when we have these sort of choke points, it obviously creates a lot of unnecessary friction, right? Just think about something that we do or have done in the past is like the nightmare of creating document versions, right? Like version control is a thing of the past, something that we as individuals here at Google and our partner ecosystems and customers that are using Workspace are very familiar that we never have to do that. It automatically creates its own versions. We can revert back to versions as we need to. And if we think about the way people work today, you know, it's a very hybrid work environment. People are agile. It's important that these choke points don't slow down people. Thirdly, let's think about this concept of innovation inertia, right? We see that not just in the business environment, but we see this in our personal lives as well, too, right? With that, of course, IT teams are constantly consumed by things like servicing their environments, patching the organizations, maintaining operation efficiencies, firefighting issues with outdated systems. So all of that comes at a cost, right? We have to think about what is the capacity of budget that's there for us to be able to continue to maintain these environments, but at the same time grow. So what happens there is that we see a lot of organizations, they get into this thing called a reactive loop, sort of rolling out software, continuing to sort of bridge the gaps, and then at the same time, they're trying to sort of look at alternative ways of being more productive, and that doesn't lend itself a lot of time. So innovation gets staggered, of course, right? And another way of sort of looking at this is we get into this concept of what we call a security debt, right? Older systems, they become more vulnerable to a lot of the new modern cyber security as cyber threats out there. And so, yeah, we delay modernization, we delay innovation that should be getting in the hands of the users. And all of this, of course, becomes very costly. And the worst thing specifically in the world of security is any reputational damage that can happen when we don't have the ability to introduce some innovation inside the organization. And then finally, we can talk about things like legacy techs that contributes to talent drain and dissatisfaction. We know that every year there's a whole new workforce that enters the world of work. And a lot of our younger generations out there expects all these new modern and efficient tools, right? Think about the concept that a lot of times when we're using applications which are software pieces, or software as a service, there's not a lot of training that a new user in the workforce needs to take, right? But when they're dealing with capabilities or applications that require that excessive amount of training, that leads to a lot of frustration. So what happens is we deploy tools, and then we have an organization which are battling with these tools that we deployed. What does this lead to? Decreased job satisfaction, higher turnover, and obviously has a significant impact on our ability to sort of not just retain the talent that we have, but also attract new talent. And that's not just the new generation workforce. You know, our existing workforce today are very savvy as well. They're looking for newer ways of working and being more productive. So there's a huge impact of legacy tech that can drive a lot of different challenges inside of our organization. It is very imperative that IT, of course, looks at this very, very proactively to sort of help address some of these subtle latencies, collaboration choke points, innovation inertias, and sort of this concept of security debt as well. It's a really important point. It's something that we feel that is so imperative for any organization that's looking to sort of continue to drive the ability to grow their tech stack in a modern way. So let's think about the other side of it as well. IT leaders are under pressure more than ever before. If you think about it, conversations which are being had across any organization is, what's your strategy for this new thing? And the new thing right now, of course, and we'll dive into it, is this concept called generative AI. But they also have to take into consideration is, how do I build these strategies that work with my existing infrastructure, right? So the first one, what we think about is this keeping the lights on, right? This is a trap for many individuals. Right? Far too often, we find that there's a lot of IT budget that is spent towards keeping the lights on and not being focused on strategic growth or innovation, right? Change, of course, takes time. It utilizes resources, but the longer we wait, the harder it is to get to that final end state. So the CEs, the CIOs, the CTOs out there are faced with this challenge all the time, right? So keeping the lights on is a trap. We see that. I think a lot of organizations also understand that as well. The other one, of course, is this thing called integration headaches, right? In our push for any new cloud-based modern technology looking to drive some efficiencies, we are always trying to connect a variety of different services, right? Either be on-prem, and that's something that we're trying to get our customers away from. But we do sometimes see organizations where they have on-prem legacy systems that unfortunately can't go away because there are some custom development applications, or there are tools which require them to be connected to a service or some infrastructure on-prem. And so we understand, like, this is not a seamless plug and play. It obviously creates a very complex and fragile and also incredibly costly environment or project to launch and also integrate. So it's something that IT people are very challenged that they're faced with all the time. Now, when we sort of continue to grow this across the organization, data silos and loss of insights of what's happening inside the organization becomes even more imperative, right? Critical business data, which is in a variety of different systems, become very disparate, and they're incompatible at any given time. So it prevents us from actually working more effectively, more holistically as well too within our organizations. And so what does this do for IT leaders? It brings a huge cumbersome operations challenges as well. You need to hire people to just manage these environments which are not talking to each other efficiently. So this obviously becomes very challenging, making it a really tough battle for organizations to look at when they think about data that sits in a variety of different places that are not connected. One of the other ones that we hear a lot from when we speak to customers is this concept of vendor lock-in and spiraling costs, right? A lot of proprietary legacy systems we find come with escalating maintenance contracts as well too, or large standing enterprise agreements, which is a really huge challenge. Day in and day out, our teams, we talk to a lot of customers that say, hi, I've invested into a large scale enterprise agreement on this productivity or collaboration tool. 3 years go by and we end up having this conversation at the desk. And the one thing that I bring up all the time is how much of that tooling did you actually use? That's a huge problem, right? The concept of shelfware in the cloud does exist, right? Organizations are investing because they got a better price. They advanced to the the latest and greatest SKU, and they probably used 30 to 40% of the overall capabilities, and that's a big challenge. And that's something that a lot of finance individuals are having conversations with, specifically with IT leaders on, hey, are we utilizing the investments that we're making? So huge multifaceted challenges that we see. It's not just an IT problem, it's a strategic imperative that we need to sort of continue to evolve, and you can only do this by proactively addressing that whole keep the lights on trap, as we say, dealing with the integration headaches, dealing with the data silos, trying to get away from vendor lock-ins, of course, and also making sure that you're dealing with security, because that's a huge thing that every organization can be threatened with. One of the last things that I really want to talk about is this concept of, why pivot? Why is it important to look at Google Workspace as an example today? Well, obviously, we're looking at ways of trying to make some of the challenges that we've identified earlier a little bit more easier, right? So the moment to pivot, as we think about it, is now, right? It's not just a suite of tools. It's a platform designed to directly address those pain points that we've talked about earlier, not just for the end user, the organizations, the C-suite, but specifically the IT leaders out there. So we can continue to sort of see individuals work faster, right? We can see individuals be able to utilize a tool that allows them to work with a product that they're probably more familiar with. And so working together, working smarter within the organization. Security is obviously a very key component of this. We have built-in security and compliance, which is integrated into the organization. So our focus, of course, is ensuring that your data is safe, your organization is safe from a lot of the different threats which are out there. And we're continuing to grow and meet standards like GDPR or HIPAA or FINRA, which is required in different geos, different industries across North America, of course. Future-proofing your enterprise, of course, right? It's, we try to get away from what we talked about earlier, which is just keeping the lights on. Google Workspace is an evergreen service. It continuously updates itself with new features and new security enhancements automatically. So your users don't feel this, I need to upgrade something on my desktop, and now it's going to bring a whole suite of pain that might slow me down, might require me to be offline, or cause other issues, of course, right? And we can't have that in this day and age when we are looking to achieve things much more faster than you ever have before. Let's talk about empowering innovation. It's not about maintenance, right? What we're trying to do is future-proof the organization so that IT doesn't become this sort of roadblock. It's not a roadblock for the users, but it's not a roadblock for the things that they need to spend time and energy on, which is to empower innovation across the organization. So Workspace allows organizations to provide these capabilities or integrate with other tools out there, allow you to integrate other SaaS-based applications, which can create new solutions for you. So at the end of the day, organizations are just looking for new opportunities to grow their business, grow their bottom line, and not continuously sit there and just maintain what's an application, which causes a lot of dissatisfaction and delays to the organization. It sort of brings me into one of my last points. There's talent drain and dissatisfaction across the organization as well. We talked about this concept that people are always attracting or looking to attract new individuals to bring into the organization, and we want to make sure that we give them familiar, intuitive tools like Workspace out there. So this definitely does attract new hires. We've seen that time and time again as we talk to customers. And as any new user that enters a workforce, they don't want to be using any clunky tools. And then the last part around Google Workspace and why we think it's really imperative is the scalability and cost efficiencies, right? We do talk a lot about how much Google Workspace brings from a capability and a functionality perspective, and I will share with you guys in the next slide, how this is addressed when we think about some of the tools that you might be investing already and how we can sort of get away from that. So if you look at this slide here, we do talk about some of the, we help identify some of the hidden costs that sort of add up to the total cost of ownership when you think about using on-premise or other open office applications out there. And this hopefully can help drive your decision around, piloting, POCing, investigating, doing some more analysis as to why Google Workspace could be a good solution. If we break it down just very, very, very quickly, security is a major factor. As we talk about, we see a lot of organizations invest in a variety of not just one or two email, hygiene, threat protection type applications. The great thing about Google Workspace is we take care of all of those components when it comes to addressing mail hygiene, but dealing with also identity management, MDM, so things like allowing you to develop a zero trust environment. And obviously, there are options out there. And so we integrate with them if they are required, but the key thing is we do provide capabilities inside the tool. We invented real-time collaboration. Just think about the concept of being able to work in a document together with multiple people internally and externally out of the organization. The great thing about Workspace, when we think about this here in our organization and our partners, the one thing that you never hear anybody say when you work in this environment is that I own the document. Like very quickly and swiftly, you'll see is that if you're working in a collaborative environment with cross-functional teams, an individual will start a document or open up a slide deck or start a sheet and once you start to share that, you see people all of a sudden come within that document to start to collaborate. And so the concept of I own the document, need to share it with you, and only give you X amount of access, those tools and those capabilities exist, but they're not really required when you're looking to develop something and co-produce content. And then one of the other pieces I think which is also important for us to highlight within this table is this concept of personal efficiency, right? We can always sort of see is that an individual's efficiency is impacted by the overhead of a lot of application integration that needs to happen at the desktop, or deployment, or tools that need to be added to an environment, or what we would maybe call non-native mobile apps or non-native cloud applications. Google Workspace was born in the cloud, and we continue to evolve all of our innovation within it. So, when you tally these things up, when you buy these things individually, an average cost per user from a subscription can be $215 on the lower end scale, of course. And hopefully this demonstrates that, while on-premise applications can maybe seem cheaper upfront, obviously the maintenance and the operational costs can continue to skyrocket that from an individual perspective. Now, just a few more slides on my piece, of course, right? If you think about this, what we really do feel is it's time and it's an opportunity for you to look at newer ways of working, right? When we think about the slide here, it obviously helps identify that, there are pain points in legacy systems out there. the lack of integration when we think about some of the newest and greatest things that we talk about, such as artificial intelligence or Gen AI, which is required now for every business. Outside of the workforce, I'm pretty sure that individuals are having conversations with friends and families around, hey, are you using AI for anything? How are you using it in your day-to-day activities today? So legacy applications don't provide this capability. We talk about data, siloed information, information that doesn't talk to other applications that can obviously hinder real-time team collaboration. It can hinder productivity. It can hinder and bring about security challenges as well when data is leaked or is not effectively used in the right way. So legacy systems, because they're not updated as much, can also have these challenges. And that obviously creates what we call insecure platforms and allows for modern day threats to appear. We talked about this a little bit. Workspace, of course, you can break through a lot of these challenges, right? We have integrated AI that you can build into your existing workflows. We have easy collaboration tools that that individuals coming into your workforce would be very attracted to use and want to love and ensure that they have those capabilities. And then obviously, like we talk about, security is fundamentally built in. It's not an afterthought. It's not something you install later. It's not something that the user needs to think about. You get access to the things as required. And the main thing there is that the data is secure. So it's time for us, as we think about it, organizations to look at alternative ways of working, newer ways of sort of deploying technology. And when we sort of think about this, the one important thing that all organizations are very focused on is what's the total economic impact of doing all of this stuff, right? Key results at the top, you can see, right? There's 30% improvement in collaboration when using Workspace. It's not just a number. It definitely translates itself into faster working times, being more productive, communicating a little bit better, and obviously driving some more innovation, right? What we have seen a lot of organizations is they've over 300% in ROI. It's not just about saving money, as we know, it's about driving significant value in the way that your organization works and how your people interact, and also driving the opportunity for you to be able to create new services and new products as a result of that. And I think the one thing that we've seen a lot of is the organizations that do go ahead and look at Workspace see a payback period of less than 6 months at any given time. Now, that obviously varies from organization to organization, the scale of individuals and data and migration and a variety of different things. But we do see that the total investment of Workspace can happen very, very, very quickly. So all in all, huge investments across the organizations. The reliability of Google Workspace is there. We build this based on trust. We find that productivity is continuously boosted across the organization. People are spending more time working with the content versus spending a lot of time searching for the content. Individuals that maybe look after departments inside of an organization which is focused on IT support have also seen a huge reduction of tickets, because there's a lot of self-service capabilities that users have access to, but more than that, they are able to sort of see that the problems or challenges that they have are not as great as they have seen in having a variety of other tools inside their companies, of course. So overall, what we find is that it helps with onboarding and training. It definitely drives the employee experience higher, and we also see a more connected workforce inside the organization. And I think what's important for us to think about when we look at AI as a whole, Workspace as a whole, this is not something that we've just started. We've been doing this for many, many years. Let's go to the next slide, sorry. Back from 2015, we've been talking about how to integrate more automated ways of working within the organization. We see ourselves as a pioneer in this world of AI, machine learning, and continuously sort of making sure that we are continuing to grow these sort of capabilities. And then obviously, the core fundamental foundation of everything that we've done across the years continues to grow within the organization. So we want to make sure that we focus all of our efforts on being very responsible when we think about AI, that we ensure that we're taking all of the most major themes that a lot of companies have to take into consideration. And this growth continues to happen, and we look at this as far as we've come with our tools like Gemini, which we'll get into, of course. And so, yeah, we do feel like the right technology investments are here today. Google is here to help you get there. Our partners like Shivaami are also imperative in making sure that they are the ones that are helping our customers understand which personas, which profile of users, which type of areas within the organization they should start with. They're here to help remove those barriers. They're here to help you give you a competitive advantage. And the one thing that you might see on this slide here is that we think about the number 12 there. For us, it sort of represents a critical time frame. It's about thinking ahead. It's about considering the impact of technology decisions within your organization. Either it be 12 months, 24 months, and beyond. You know, we're trying to get you away from spending a lot of money in these sort of hidden costs, and looking to make sure that you have a bit of a positive outcome when you think about workspace. So hopefully you've been able to set a little bit of the context why it's important, what we have sort of seen in the organization, what has driven some of these amazing capabilities that we bring out inside of Google Workspace today. And then I will pass it over to Liz here, but hopefully you've had some insight into why change is important, what impacts those change, and what we can do to help with that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Neelesh. Hey, everyone. My name's Liz. I'm a workspace specialist here with Google. So now that Neelesh has gone over a little bit about the legacy pieces and what else is out there, I thought it might make more sense to jump into what exactly, is the alternative option to that legacy. I know we're a bit behind on time here, so we're going to skip over that question and save it for later. But in terms of what Google Workspace is, don't think of it as just a productivity suite. It really is the chance to embrace that future of work. And because the tools that you're going to choose today are going to determine how effectively your teams can collaborate, innovate, and compete tomorrow. So that brings us to what exactly is Google Workspace. Now, most of you are here because you're using a Microsoft-centric environment. But odds are you're part of the 3 billion users that use these apps that you see on this slide every single day. There's Google Drive, replacing tools like SharePoint, those on-premise file servers, OneDrive, Box, Dropbox, you name it. We're giving you document storage and real-time collaboration. And yes, we do work offline and maintain both Excel and Word doc format. A common misconception that I hear almost every day is that you have to convert documents from Excel or Word to leverage them within Drive. We support virtually every type of file, and when the file is in Drive, you get the additional power of our AI on top. That said, there's also the ability to collaborate directly within Docs, Sheets, and Slides native to the Google platform. This is used by 150 million students in familiarity with Workspace for Education, which is the workforce of tomorrow. We also have Chat and Meet, and between these applications alone, there have been more than 200 updates since the world shifted to remote work and online meetings. We support group spaces, inline replies, and threading within Chat, and Meets now supports recording, transcription, live translations, hand-raising, breakout rooms, attendance tracking, everything you could possibly need to support the modern needs of your virtual meetings. And finally, there's Gmail and Calendar. Again, familiarity across 3 billion users globally and the leader in email security when compared to our competition. And then from left to right here, this is a visual representation of just some of the workflows and applications that can be replaced and merged by Google. Again, we want to encourage you to open your mind and think about the entirety of the suite, not necessarily having to jump in all at once. And we'll get into a little bit more of that later with just some point solutions and how folks are leveraging Google with their Microsoft environment for AI needs today. Now, I mentioned a couple slides ago, Google is a leader in email security when compared to our competitors. This is because fundamentally of how we've been architected. First off, the data is stored in the cloud, meaning there's no persistent local data on your end users' devices. Thinking about situations where devices are lost, stolen, taken to another country, access to data is verified with every request in Google and can be immediately revoked with built-in zero trust controls without having to rely on special agents on devices. Now, that might sound simple, but the fact that the data is in the cloud makes it much easier for your security teams to control access to it. And yes, you can still use your day-to-day work in offline mode if you don't have access to internet and your local device with Google Drive for Desktop. Second, the Google Workspace app does run in every browser or on mobile phones, unlike traditional productivity solutions. This means that users don't need to use thick client apps that need to be constantly patched and protected from vulnerabilities and malware. All apps can be accessed from every browser, including Chrome and the native apps on Android and iOS devices. And these differences in how we're architected have real-world implications for our customers. So at Bay, which is a cybersecurity insurance company, has done an independent analysis over the past few years based on the 40,000 customers, and they find out that the key benefits of choosing Workspace over Microsoft are invaluable. There's 2 times fewer security incidents for organizations on Workspace versus Microsoft 365, 2.5 times fewer when compared to our competitors at Exchange, and up to 50% could be saved on cybersecurity insurance premiums by using Workspace. This isn't Google marketing material or sponsored research or an opinion from analysis. This is data directly from an independent insurance provider that charges different premiums based on the technology choices and practices of their consumers. So let that sink in on why Google should be the security choice of your business. And so what about things that take place outside of Google? Again, using as much or as little of the suite as you want to help improve your day-to-day, not only transform, but also improving modern workflows. We are flexible and integrate with third-party apps as well. This means that tools and platforms that your team already use won't be impacted. Think about applications like Salesforce, Asana, Adobe, and many more things that you see on the screen today. This means that you can modernize your workplace while preserving investments in those other business-critical systems. So before I pass it to Grace on our live AI demo, I want to connect a little bit of the dots about what Google's approach is to AI. Fundamentally, Google's AI can be described in 3 different pillars. So the first pillar is what you see in today. It's going to be how Gemini is directly woven into the everyday tools of Workspace and how they enhance what that application does with AI. Think summarizing email threads to help you catch up, drafting responses to that thread that's tailored to the information and the people in that thread, asking Gemini to create formulas or charts in your Excel document or your Google Sheets, live translation, captions, and note-taking on Google Meet. The second pillar is going to be what's called our Gemini Advanced. So Gemini Standalone app or Gemini Advanced allows for natural conversational interactions and complex problem solving on the go. It's going to empower you to brainstorm ideas, create images, generate deep research reports, and never start with a blank page or email ever again. On to Gemini Gems within the apps. Those are going to be your AI experts. They provide specific instructions and even uploading files for context. What this means is that you're going to tailor Gemini's responses to your precise needs, building out a team of specialized AI assistants for tasks like coding, brainstorming, or even acting as a personal coach. The third pillar here is what's going to be called Notebook LM, which is our AI-powered research and note-taking assistant, and it allows you to upload various sources like PDFs, websites, documents, even YouTube videos. It then acts as a personal AI expert, letting you chat with your documents, generate summaries, uncover business insights, all while citing responses directly into those provided materials. And those 3 things that we just talked about in terms of AI, Gemini, and Notebook LM are the things that we're seeing folks in those Microsoft environments want to get their hands on and use in tandem as that first step into the Google ecosystem. And now I will pass it to Grace for our live demo of that.
Thanks, Liz. Hey, everyone. I'm Grace Hutchison. I'm a Google Workspace customer engineer, helping customers like yourself to evaluate the product and answer any Workspace technical questions that you have. Now, today, I'm going to go ahead and show a live demo of 2 of those pillars that Liz mentioned. So we're first going to be going over Gemini app, also known as Gemini Advanced, and then we'll go over Notebook LM. So let me go ahead and just start by sharing my screen here, and we'll start with that Gemini app. Alrighty. Now, for users to get access into the Gemini app, it will work like any other workspace app where they can look at that in their app drawer. They'll click on Gemini, and then they'll be able to get into that standalone AI conversational chatbot. Now, some of you might be familiar with the consumer version of this, also known as the Gemini app. What we're using here today is specifically the workspace version of the Gemini app that isn't collecting any of your data, and it's not using it to train models. So it has that privacy protection built in within Workspace. Now, within the Gemini app, we can go ahead and first choose our model that we'd like to use. If we want to use Flash or Pro, which is really great for more of those reasoning and coding situations, or maybe we're having it look and analyze some numbers. And then in addition to that, we also do have some great features included with the Gemini app. I'm going to go over a few of those here today. But first, let's just start with giving Gemini a basic prompt to kind of give an idea of what it would look like from the end user side to actually use Gemini. Now, I went ahead and just asked Gemini for some ideas of how we could reformat maybe a weekly team status sync meeting. And then based off of that prompt that I enter in there, then Gemini is going to go ahead and start responding back to me like that typical conversational AI chatbot format. And it's giving me some pretty good ideas here, such as different frameworks that we can use for that sync. Now, this is just a pretty basic example of using Gemini here, but from this, we can go ahead and continue to converse back and forth with Gemini, ask questions, and it's going to go ahead and save this conversation so that we can come back to it later on and pick up right where we left off. Now, in addition to just being able to talk with Gemini normally, we also have deep research and our Canvas functionality that's built into the prompt engine. Now, one of my favorite features here is deep research. I'm just going to hop over into an example just for time's sake that I ran earlier this morning. Now, deep research is great for having to do a lot of research across Google search. Instead of you having to do it yourself, you can have the deep research model search across Google and pull out the information that you need. So one example is I gave the deep research model a prompt here, just asking it if it can help me do some research on if our local Atlanta marketing business should get into the restaurant market. Now, based off of that prompt, Gemini is going to automatically create a research plan for me, and I can change this to how I see fit, but it's all going to be based off of that prompt that I give it. From there, we can go ahead and start that research, and then Gemini will take a few minutes to compile all of those sources for me and create whatever I've asked it to create. So in this example, I went ahead and asked it for a detailed executive guide that I can go ahead and then give my leadership in this example reasons as to why we should or should not get into the restaurant market. And based off of that, it's going to go ahead and create that analysis and then start tagging in all of that research that it did. So for an example of this paragraph, we can see here these footnotes. We have the one here corresponding to that first link here. Now, from here, let's say we maybe want to go ahead and edit it further. We do have the ability to export this out as a Google Doc. And then if we then open that in Docs, we'll be able to continue to edit it. And what's great about this is that it will already go ahead and cite those works that it found for us as well, really taking out and the time needed to actually go in and put in all of those sources. Now, lastly, we have time for today is to go over that gem piece. There are a lot of other functionalities of Gemini, but one that we see customers using the most, like Liz mentioned, is our Gemini gems. Now, this is essentially like a GPT. If those of you are familiar with that term, this essentially allows you to preload Gemini with context so that every single time that you're going to talk to this gem, it's going to remember what the instructions are, the context that you gave it. So you'll start by giving it a name, giving it the instructions, and then you can also load it with a knowledge base that could be files from your local computer or from Drive that it can pull from when it's talking to you. And an example that I have here today is I went ahead and created a resume reviewer gem ahead of time. So we went ahead and put in instructions here told to act as a resume reviewer. And I wanted it to use this effective resume writing guide that I'm giving it in its knowledge base to help me rewrite some resumes. Now, based off of that, once I go ahead and actually prompt it with here's my resume and give it a resume, it already knows what it has to do based off of that instructions that we gave it. So from there, it's going to just start going through that resume effective writing guide, and then it will pull in some ideas of how we can change this resume based on that guide. So for example, for the objective statement, it's letting us know it's a bit too vague, and it's giving us some examples of how we could change it. And it's also going to go ahead and tag in specifically where it found it in that guide that we gave it. So super helpful for a lot of different resources. I personally use this a lot for doing like analysis, financial analysis. It's really great at being able to look across numbers as well. Now, this was just scratching the surface of the Gemini app, but I highly recommend taking a look at it. Like I mentioned, we also do have a consumer version of this you can play around with for free as well. Or if you're interested, of course, set up a trial with our Shivaami team. Now, outside of the Gemini app, the last piece that I just wanted to showcase here today is going to be Notebook LM. And that's going to be that second pillar that Liz mentioned. Now, Notebook LM is similar to Gemini, that it is a conversational AI chatbot, but the main difference is that Notebook LM is only grounded in the data that you give it. So for example, let's say I want to have a chatbot that my users can talk back and forth with about our company HR policies and benefits, as opposed to having to go to the HR person and constantly ask them instead. Now, for that, we can go ahead and upload all of our employee handbook or benefits information into this notebook. And then when users go ahead and ask questions to the AI chatbot, it's only going to be pulling in answers for them from all those sources that we gave it. Whereas the Gemini app, not only can it pull in sources from data that you give it, but it can also pull in items from the web. So Notebook LM is strictly going to be the data that you put into it. So for example, we'll go ahead and ask Gemini or the Notebook LM a question here. And let's go ahead and just ask, what are my dental benefits? And then once we hit enter, it'll go ahead and search across all of those sources here and then show me exactly where it found that. So for example, with this first section, it's letting us know that we have a dental plan provided through Smile Bright. And then it's also going to show us exactly where it found that. If we actually click on that number, it will also highlight it on the left-hand side in that source section. So super helpful for ensuring that the answers are backed up by the data that you're giving it. And then on the right-hand side here, we also have some additional features that can be super helpful, such as audio overview. This creates a AI-generated podcast that will summarize all of the contents in this notebook, as well as we do have the ability to add in notes here that we want to save based on what we asked or chatted with in the notebook on. So for example, maybe there was an FAQ that we wanted to create or a summary. We can have that saved to the right-hand side so that users can come back and view that. Now, let's go ahead and just listen to a few seconds of this audio overview just to get an idea of what this sounds like.
Welcome to the deep dive. So, you're starting somewhere new, innovates for your solutions. Things are probably a bit hectic, but you want to get the lay of the land quickly, right? Understand what makes it all work.
Yeah, we get it. So today we're going to, dig into the key details.
And then it's going to keep on going from there. So really great way to go ahead and get a download of all the information in a notebook without having to necessarily ask 20 questions. We recognize that people learn differently. So really great to not only have the ability to ask questions in the chat, but also have that audio overview and notes. Now, of course, like any workspace service, you can go ahead and share this across the organization so that people can view it or edit it like any other Drive file. All right, so unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today, but we did go over those two main pillars, that Notebook LM and Gemini app piece. Hope this was super helpful in understanding some of those Gemini features that are available on the workspace side. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Kunal.
That was amazing, Grace. Thank you so much. I hope that was valuable for our audience, and we'll quickly move on to the next slide. And I'll hand it over to the next section to Chetana, who is going to talk about from stuck to scalable and how the Shivaami migration playbook sounds to her.
Thank you, Kunal. So we have learned the challenges that the legacy system, what we are facing with the legacy system, and how the GWS can help us to overcome those challenges. And with AI capabilities, how we can significantly enhance our efficiency and performance. So our methodology for successfully deploying Google Workspace has evolved over the many years. We have supported numerous large customers in this transition and continue supporting somewhere around 20,000 plus customers. So we recognize that deploying Google Workspace is not just an IT project. The key to success is in the change management for this transition. So we believe that the complete transformation is possible by enabling technology, motivating people, and reinventing processes. So true innovation is achieved only when all three components are there acted together. So over the years, we have implemented many best practices. So these practices are designed to support user adoption and ensure that the new tools become an integrated part of the collaborative culture in your organization. So we follow the process, which includes 4 phases. So one is excite, enable, and expand embed. So develop the excitement by defining proper scope and plan support model for your client communications and trainings there. So during the enablement phase, we deploy services and execute on support model, training and communications plan. During the expand phase, we establish a Google experts, run some transformation labs, and manage support operations, etc. In last embase where we make sure that we are measuring the adoption progress and promote success stories and support users through self-help. As a methodology technology front, we even recommended 3-stage approaches during our deployment processes. So core IT, early adopters, and the global. So during the core IT phase, what we do basically, then we help core project team onto the system and as quickly as possible, so that we can understand what are the technical challenges or the integrations in the production environment we might face there. During the early adopters, it's very important stage in our deployment. For this stage, we consider somewhere around 5 to 10% of the business users, and we migrate them onto the system. These are the production ready and help us to validate the environment setups, so to collect the feedback from these users and make effectiveness of the system. And we collect those feedbacks and try to make sure that during the production, what are the like system, we have to make sure that what needs to be taken care of, so that there should not be any mess over there at the end of the process. The early adopter phase enables you to basically test technical configuration and all aspects of your training and communication plans, basically. So after verifying all the settings, collecting feedback, and ongoing implementation, we define the final go live plan, and we recommend that it should be a single go live. So we should not be in a segments, and because this will actually enable you to focus on all your resources and create a real buzz within your organization. So migrating to Google Workspace involves transferring users' data like emails, files, calendars, Google the Drive. If you're having any file system, or if you're on Office like the other competitors, then you can go with the OneDrive data, etc. So from legacy system to the Google ecosystem. So this data migration is crucial setup basically, and ensuring that business continuity and the user productivity should not get hampered. So selecting a right tool to get data migrated is a key for the successful migration. So there are a number of Google native tools which are available and to migrate the data. And we identify that what are the systems to be migrated, and what are the key aspects, and what are the production environment is required. So accordingly, we try to suggest the exact tool. There are a number of third-party tools are also available. So there are few things sometimes which the native tools may have a challenge with, and we can use a third-party tool, and we can accordingly use a multiple tools during a single migration. So there is no limit to use any particular tool during the migration phase. Then is the next is a change management. So change management is a people aspect during our transformation. It's a very key that when adopting a new tool doesn't happen overnight. So it is ongoing process requiring a communication, training, and engagement to help people like team to integrate Google Workspace into the work habits and the processes there. So it is about setting up the focus on building awareness, understanding, and adoption of the Google Workspace. So we think that during this transition process, it is an actual series of sequential steps or the phases that build upon each other. So awareness is there. So in making awareness so that people are clear on why the organization is changing, the strategies of this transition, and how they will be supported to make the change to the future state there. Understanding how the change is going to impact the organization. So an individual requires extensive communication and education. So people see how they will do their job differently, how Google Workspace can actually help benefit them and help them to their job quicker and better. And last is the acceptance, so that With training and tool demos, users become familiar with the tools and can accept it as a new part of their tool set there. With this, I would like to take over the one of our case study. So one of our customer, that is IOPEX, is a service-based company specializing in a digital transformation solutions, and they are partner with many businesses to enhance efficiency and accelerate revenue growth. So data security is a major concern for their business, and they deal with their customer data on the training their models over there. So before moving to Google Workspace, IOPEX was using a different tools for DLP, MDM, access management solutions. So Google Workspace has provided a comprehensive solution to address their data security needs and streamline their operations. So with Google Workspace, they move towards their digital transformation with enhanced security and improved team productivity. So it has helped to integrate different tools for DLP, MDM, and access management under one platform, including cost effectiveness and improved security over there. So the robust secure by design environment of Google Workspace also enables IOPEX to collaborate on files with their customers by providing external accesses. Those who are already on a Google Workspace environment, or they are on any other platform. So we can even share with those who are not on a Google platform as well. So Google MDM solution has allowed them to strengthen their mobile device management policies for both Android and iOS devices. The implementation of context-aware access improved security by eliminating the need of reverse proxy connections required by third-party tools, which has simplified the infrastructure and reduced the complexity overall. So we performed the streamlined migration for approximately few TBs of data within a week using Google Workspace Migrate tool, which reflects the efficiency and scalability of the entire solution over there. And last but not the least is change management. So change management is often a critical aspect for adopting new technologies. So we conducted workshops to help users to adopt new features and Google Workspace. So with this approach, we ensure that the smoother transition and maximize the benefit of the new tools there. So however, we believe that the Google Workspace is scalable and flexible solution that will able to meet IOPEX's needs as they grow. So thank you once again for being a part of the session. So Shivami can help you to move fast, stay secure, and scale smart. And we handle complexity so that you can focus on your business. So your growth is just a migration away. So thank you very much.
That was great, Chetna. Thank you for that insightful session. We have some time for Q&A. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute or post your questions on the chat window, and we'll be able to answer. But yeah, we really appreciate your time to kind of attend the session, and hope it was just helpful in terms of understanding how to come out of that legacy tech, and how Google Workspace is a great fit with all that AI buzz out there in the market today, how Google fits your bill in terms of most of the requirements that you would have, and how simpler it is to kind of move over and transition to a new product. So hope that was insightful. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask that.
Yeah, Kunal, it looks like a couple folks want to know who Shivaami and what Shivaami is, if you want to give them a quick TLDR.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, Shivami has been a Google partner for over a decade now. We've helped more than 20,000 customers transition to Google Workspace and adopt Google Workspace in a better way, with presence across North America and Asia Pacific, and 4 times Partner of the Year award winner from Google. So just testifies our ability to help and manage you as a customer. And Google has recognized our efforts. So appreciate that from Google's side too. But yeah, in a way, we can be a part of your entire journey, from transitioning from your current set of tools, bringing it over to Google Workspace, and helping you adopt Google in a better way on an ongoing basis, because every now and then there are new products being added as part of the Google Workspace ecosystem. So our role is just ongoing.
Yeah, and just from the Google side as well. So as one of our premier partners, I work really closely with the Shivaami team over the last few years. Essentially, we work together on securing the best possible pricing, doing Google-funded POCs for you guys. And then also, if you do decide to ultimately make the switch in whatever capacity, I'm on my end securing the Google-sourced funding so that that cost to move and get trained on Google tools is not passed along to the customer. So we work together very closely at all stages, whether it's the qualification and pilot, as well as the change management and making sure you're getting the most out of your investment afterwards.
Perfect. I think, yeah, that gives a detailed lay of the land. But once again, thank you for your time. And we are available if you want to book your free assessments. Reach out to us. We'll send out an email with some follow-ups. If you think this would be interesting, we can definitely do one-on-one conversations and understand your infrastructure better and talk about it in a little more depth. That'll give you more customized perspective about your infrastructure and the way we can go about it. But yeah, appreciate everyone's time here, and thank you so much.